right, good day, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going into week two, which is continuation of last week's um, lecture. It's on principles of globalization and trade. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. We're going to get into it. Okay, so the global supply chain. So, global supply chain management involves planning how the entire supply chain will function as an integrated whole with the aim of generating an optimum level of customer service while being as cost efficient as possible. Others aim Others aims include increasing the speed by which your product reaches your customers, as well as flexibility dealing with customers. Firms are creating truly global supply chains because it enables them to reduce their costs. Companies can take advantage of lower production costs. They can outsource to free capital from non-core activities and generate large-scale efficiencies. Cost of shipping, communication, and tariffs have come down over the years. Okay, so the global supply chain. So what is supply chain? First off, supply chain is the process of taking something from raw material and turning it into a product. Okay, the global supply chain is, for example, if I'm creating something in North America, right? Let's say I'm creating a cell phone in North America. I'm manufacturing in North America. I can't I wouldn't be able to find I could find all my parts in North America, but I can get it for so much cheaper if I buy it from India or China. So that's what a global supply chain is, because then you're outsourcing, right? You're catching stuff from other companies, from other countries, and you bring it in and putting it into your product. Okay, so that's kind of basically what global supply chain means. So if you look at the third point, it says firms are creating supply chains because it enables them to reduce their costs, right? You can reduce your costs. Um, and then, if you also use global supply chain, like global marketing methods, right? You can use different global marketing companies in different countries, right, in order to reach your customers, right? So basically, you can have an IT firm in India running all your back end, making sure that your company is running um, up to date 24/7, right? You can have that. You can have all your parts and stuff coming from China, and you can have all um, you can also outsource your customer support to the Philippines, right? Stuff like that, just to keep your costs as low as possible. Okay, three things that successful global supply chain needs. Okay, guys, people, processes, and technology, right? Seems pretty straightforward. People. You can't have anything, you can't really run any business these days without having the right people, right? So you got to have the right people in management. You got to have the right people who have the skills and the resources and the product knowledge and know how to transport the products and store the products, and they have to have a view of the company's strategic business vision. They need to know their role and how it fits in the overall supply chain. So they need to know all these things. They need to be good at all these things in order for a company to be successful on a global supply chain level. Okay, so people, right? Number one. Number two, you gotta have the right processes in place, right? You gotta have the right sourcing, distribution, transportation, warehousing, sales, and customer service, right? So let's say you're um, let's say you're selling your product into England, London, UK, right? You need to have the right transportation to send your stuff from Canada to the UK. You got to ship it there. And once it gets shipped there, then you have to have that transportation. Let's just say you're selling, let's go with like furniture, right? And you're making this very unique type of furniture, and the UK has a big demand for that type of furniture. So you start shipping all your furniture to you open up a little warehouse in the UK, start shipping all your furniture to that warehouse. You got to have the right transportation to get there in and out of the warehouse, obviously the warehousing, and then you also have sales and customer service, right? You have to have a place where people can come and actually look at the product and buy it. And then also customer service if they, if something goes wrong with the product or if it needs to be returned or whatever, you can all do that. So processes are very important if you're trying to go global. And then obviously technology, right? You don't want to be let's say you're a company I don't know, let's say India, Bangladesh, whatever, Africa, and you're trying to sell your product into Canada, North America. Over here, we have the latest and greatest technology. So if you're making a laptop or a cell phone, some sort of technology, and you bring it into North America, you want to make sure that it's either up to standards that are here or better. Because anything less, you're not going to sell it. It's not going to be successful. Perfect. Okay. So integrative trade. Integrative trade is a framework in which imports and exports of goods, information, services, and service related to goods are traded across country borders through value chains. This framework for trade is powered by investments, business relationships, and partnerships develop mutually shared value for stakeholders. So, very simple, right? Integrative trade is basically you're doing business in other countries by using your strategic partnerships. Okay, global trade transactions. So global trade, obviously known as international trade, is simply the import and export of goods across international boundaries. So global trade is anything, if you're ever doing any export or import through between countries, that's what's called global trade. Goods and services that enter a country for sales are called imports. Guys, this is super easy, okay? Anything that comes into your country is import, anything that leaves is an export. The comparative advantage that a country can produce some goods or services more cheaply than others, right? An opportunity cost is the benefit one gives up in making economic choice. The classic example is guns and butter. Domestic investment of defense spending. The more guns you produce, the less funds are available to invest in public schools and infrastructure. Okay, so for example, the U.S. is a very huge exporter of military products, right? Military equipment, um, jets, helicopters, Apaches, all those stuff, right? So the U.S. is very big in that. Malaysia is very big in rubber. So what they will do is Malaysia will purchase, they'll do a they'll do a trade with the U.S., purchase military equipment, and in turn, the U.S. will get rubber. Okay, so that's basically how it works. So whatever country has more resources than the other, if another one needs it, they just get into a trade agreement. Okay, so related party transactions refers to deal or arrangement made between two parties who are joined by pre-existing business relationship or common interest. Okay, related party transactions. This is kind of important. Companies often seek business deals with parties with whom they are familiar or have common interest. Although related party transactions are themselves legal, they may create conflicts of interest or lead to other legal situations. Public companies must disclose these transactions. Okay, guys, so basically a related party transaction is so the company I'm currently working for, we have a related party transaction with a with a multi-billion dollar company. So we basically manufacture all their equipment that they can't manufacture. We're their sole manufacturer. So if they ever need something, we manufacture it for them. Okay. There's a related party transaction that went wrong. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it was huge. It was the Enron scandal. Jim Carrey made a movie on it, and we will talk about that. I'll ask you guys to get into that a little more later. Okay. Letters of credit. Okay, so when you're doing global trade, it's kind of difficult to um, to get money from from a trusted source. Let's say you're selling your product into Africa. How do you know you're gonna get paid once you ship it there, right? What if the guys just take it and not pay you? So a letter of credit basically is a paying way for international sales of goods and transactions. Okay, so you deposit funds in with an LC into a bank. Okay, so you deposit an LC with a bank. They're also called documentary letters of credit. Okay, so they're paid by the bank at site. All at site means is that the bank looks over the documents produced by the seller, the beneficiary, or the LC, and required by the LC. And if those documents are in order, they pay the beneficiary the full value of the LC. Okay, so there's a few things that has to be done, which I did. I used to do international trade, so I know this very, very well. So let's say I'm shipping oil over into Egypt. I ship the oil to Egypt. I get my ship come in, he fills it up, I ship oil over to Egypt. While the ship is leaving, we're getting all our documents ready, right? We're getting the BOL, the bill of lading, we're getting the inspection, the oil inspection, making sure that the oil meets specs, like the lab reports. We're getting quantities, right? Quantities from the oil tank, saying how much we put in. Like we're getting a few, maybe 4 or 5 big documents ready. Now, when that ship reaches that port, we don't get paid unless the bank sees all these, sees all the documentation, knows that the ship has already landed at the site. Now, the customer can't take the oil out, can't offload the oil, and so the customer cannot offload the oil, and we cannot get paid until the bank looks at everything, approves it, says the ship has already been delivered, the whole job is done, then the funds get released. So that's how you basically save yourself if you're doing business overseas. You do letters of credit, which means these guys, these companies pay in advance to the bank, so the bank is holding the money, and as soon as it's completed, they send it to you. So typical documents for LC. Oh, here we go. Like I was talking, right? This is basically everything that we did. So obviously the invoice, right? The invoice is what's the total amount of money? Bill of lading, like shipping documents, right? Ocean or inland. Proof of insurance, inspection certificate, right? So we got to make sure that the goods have properly been inspected. So in our case, we were doing food grade oil, so they would check to see what type of oil was in the ship, all the specs of it, making sure all the specs meet the specs that they wanted, and then certificate of origin. Where did the goods originate? What country did the goods originate from? Okay, so just to make sure that we have to have all that stuff in order to get paid. Hey, he's okay. Why are you bothering him? Okay. Incoterms. Incoterms are widely used terms of sale. So if you guys ever do international trade, you'll see a lot of these. There's 2 main ones that you see a lot, majority of the time if you're doing international shipping, overseas, like over water. So we'll get into that. So Incoterms is the terms of sale. There are 11 internationally recognized rules which define the responsibilities of sellers and buyers. So Incoterms specifies who is responsible for paying for and managing the shipment, insurance, documentation, custom clearance, and other logistical activities. Okay, so this may seem a lot right now, but let me get into it. It'll make a lot more sense. Okay, so Incoterms for any mode of transportation. If you look at all these, delivered at place unloaded, delivered paid, delivered duty paid. So all of these are terms which define, hey, excuse me. So all of these are terms which define when a customer needs to pay for the product, or when a customer is going to pay for a product. Okay, so for example, DAP, delivered at place. Okay, so you only get you only get paid when you get delivered at place. So when you deliver to the customer. DPU, delivered at place, unloaded. Only time you get paid is when you deliver it, unload it to the customer. Delivered duty paid. You only get paid when you deliver it and all the duties and tariffs and everything are paid. Okay, so all the other stuff you won't really see it too much. The main ones are coming up. Hey guys, Incoterms for sea and waterway transport, the two main ones. We're not going to get into the other two. You can learn them if you want, free alongside ship, cost and freight. The two main ones we're going to talk about, which are going to be on your exams and your midterm, or your tests, quizzes, and all that. FOB and CIF. Okay, FOB, free on board. CIF means cost, insurance, and freight. So free on board means basically you're a plant or you're a manufacturing facility, whatever it is, and the customer comes to you to pick up. The only time you get paid is when you physically put that product onto the customer's ship. Okay? So once you load the ship, that's when you get paid. Now CIF, cost, insurance, and freight, is only time you get paid is when you take care of the insurance and the freight to the client. So you have to ship it to the client, make sure the insurance is paid, everything's taken care of, and you have to get it to their port. That's basically it. Okay, guys. So this is the end of week 2. We have an assignment today, which I'm gonna post, and I want you guys to get done, and it's gonna be worth, I think, 10% of your mark. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.